Yes 101 and 100.8.
Exclusive.
He has turned into quite a successful attorney at law at the moment, with some very interesting and important clients.
That's right, and important matters as well. Kind of like the matter that we like to talk to you about today. So, without further ado, we'd like to introduce our guest. He is attorney at law, Nishan Sydney Premathiratne, and we are talking about the Sri Lankan cricketers, their current contracts, or if you can call them contracts, because they've just signed contracts only for the current tour.
Yeah,
and what their future holds for them. Nishan is the players' representative, or the attorney at law that represents all of the players who didn't want to sign their contracts.
yeah. So let's welcome him to the show, Mr. Premathiratne. Good morning.
Good morning,
morning,
Mr. Bandhu and Mr. Keller. Very
Morning,
good
sir. Morning.
So
we will tell you what our idea, what happened was. First off, what we realized was there was an expose of sorts where the salary structure of the players came into the public's eye, and then everyone had their own opinions. And then right after, we heard that some of the players were not happy and were refusing to sign their contracts. Now, are we correct to assume that that is what went down?
The gist of the situation.
Yes. Or is there a lot more to it?
A lot more to it, Dominic. So, yeah, I think the issue triggered with the former management committee actually releasing only the players' salaries out to the public domain, but without putting in or releasing the salaries of all the other officials who are involved in cricket, like the coaches, like the support staff. So their salaries were not put out. And also in the context of global cricket, those payments were also not released. So the players were actually they were very upset why their individual payments were only released. If Asanka, your salary and also Dominic's salary is being released by your organization only, I don't know whether that will look good. So that was where probably the thing sparked, but the issue was not that. The issue was on transparency. And this new performance-based model had a few elements or few factors which were being assessed, which the players felt were subjective in nature and did not have any tangible information to be taken into consideration. Things like leadership, professionalism, future potential. So marks were being allotted to player categorization in respect of those categories where the players were confused. So the players believed if transparency was released or transparency was given, this problem could be ironed out. So that is the problem was actually on transparency.
Right.
Nishan, so tell us, was there an agreement on an initial pay cut of 35% across the board for all players, or how did that come about?
Well, now the overall slabs of categorized players had come down. So those have, from the last year, it has come down from a maximum of about $130,000 to about $100,000. So the players are not up in arms in respect to that. They are not having any issue.
So they did.
They're not complaining that they need an increase in the slab. So probably there might be issues in respect of categorization, but not in respect of asking for more money.
Okay.
Yeah. So Nishan, these pay cuts, the initial pay cuts they were given was because of the whole, the cricket not doing well, or the players not performing up to standards, just bad times. What was the reason?
I don't know. I don't know whether that has been properly explained to the players, because in global cricketing culture or the circuit, I've had discussions with FICA, the Federation of International Cricketers Association, and they explained that most countries or most cricketing boards have their own have like a revenue sharing model. So they disclose to the players as to how much of revenue is earned by their board, and if there is a reduction owing to players not performing or for any other issues such as the pandemic, that will be proportionately, it'll stem down to the ultimate stakeholders who are the players. But it was not discussed in that way, and the players also don't ask for that. They don't want that transparency where the earnings of the board are to be disclosed. That is not the model we have, and that is not what the players are complaining of.
Okay, so now this whole England tour that's happening at the moment, Dom, how does that work out? What is the agreed payment scale for that, or the terms and conditions? Can someone just sign an arbitrary document as a cricketer and just go and come back, or how does that work?
Well, Asa, it's not a arbitrary document. It's a document which was given by the administration to the players, which consists of the requirements in terms of the required rules and regulations, the sports law, the players giving a voluntary declaration that they would adhere to such. And also, in addition, there were 2 or 3 contractual elements which the players voluntarily pledged that they would comply with. But it was merely a piece of one-sided documentation. It's like me telling Asanka that I'll come to Digana with you to play golf, but I don't turn up. And then you're upset. So you might not be able to do anything because it's not a binding agreement. But the players signed, the players were not complaining about payment even at that instance. The issue was the players did not want to sign the tour contracts because the tour contracts had certain clauses which were part and parcel of the substantive contract or the annual contract, which was not yet settled. So until that was to be settled, the players did not want to sign the tour contract. So that is why the voluntary declaration came to being.
Nishan, also, I know you might not be able to answer this, but tell us if you can. Have all the players kind of grouped themselves together, or are there different segments? Some are happy, some are not happy, or have they come together as a team? I'm sure people might want to know.
Yes, so that's a good question. So actually, the instructions that I've got are from 38 players who are standing on one footing that the model of transparency has to be provided. So then the public might question as to why, in the previous years, why when the going was good, this ha-ho was not seen. But in the previous years, the contracts were primarily based on performance, actually. And there were clauses in the contracts which also provided that if you are relegated or you come down in your ranking over the period of the contractual tenure, that there is a contractual quantum of which can be reduced or withheld. So it was a performance-based model, but there were certain high-ranked or high-graded players who had been down-ranked during the last players. I don't want to mention their names, but those were purely on performance. But here, this year, fitness was given quite significance. Players are very happy with that. They are not up in arms against fitness. They believe the modern day cricketer needs to be fit. But then these other subjective elements have also been added in, which raises concerns to players because subjective matters can be if it goes wrong, not put their hands up and saying that the present system, they believe they respect the hierarchy, they believe that they are very competent and the best people are doing the job. But these things can change. There can be new parties who will come and take on this model of allotting points, and if it is not transparent, problems can arise.
Nishan, can I ask you another question? Now, what is the worst case scenario here if the 38 players who you represent can't come into an agreement? Can Sri Lanka cricket hire a new bunch of cricketers and say, okay, we're going to go move on with this set if you guys are not going to be happy with that? Can that happen?
No. So Asanka, the most important thing is the players have always committed themselves to play cricket for our country. They have never said they want an agreement. They have said even without an agreement, their last statement to the public was that, or at least my statement to the public was that they are in agreement to play even in a situation where Sri Lanka cricket says that because of this contract dispute that we are not going to pay you a cent. They are not worried about it. They are now in countries like West Indies, for example, there were disputes with the boards, and the players suddenly started playing cricket
Yeah.
all over the world. So there might be a perception that
Right.
our cricketers are not worthy enough to be selected in other leagues, and this is all a big ha-ho. And but either way, there might not be IPLs awaiting our players at this present time, but there are so many other leagues globally. But they are not going to do that. They are going to be here always playing cricket for our country, irrespective of this contract dispute coming to an end in the near future.
That's nice to hear.
That's nice to hear.
Shehan wants to know, send us a message. Nishan, is this the first instance of players grouping together and seeking legal action? Or has this happened before?
Dom, I need to correct you. There is no legal action here.
Right.
This is overall negotiation, trying to, the cricketers have to play cricket.
Yes.
And these contracts are actually very complicated.
Yeah.
I've met with the stakeholders several times when players were on tour, even when they were playing in Bangladesh. There are bubbles and there are so many protocols. So the players can't be concentrating on cricket. So I'm here. I'm always at all times trying to negotiate this and settle this with with both the stakeholders. So my role is, this is not a legal dispute as such. This is just one party saying we want something to be given to us, and subject to that we will abide.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's good.
All right.
That clears it up.
Sounds exciting. Maybe to wrap things off, I kind of noticed that you mentioned that this had happened historically, or it has been a historical problem, where some players, we've seen these pay disputes in other countries as well. Even in the best of times for Sri Lanka cricket, I'm talking from the 96 World Cup onwards, has these kind of matters arisen from time to time, although social media wasn't available, or media wasn't focusing on these things, or it was rather hush-hush at that time. Has that ever happened?
So, guys, now in any negotiation, there can be disputes. Now, I've been handling these contracts for the last 5 years. There were differences between the parties in respect of certain clauses and provision, but it never escalated to a possible situation like this. But even prior to 2015, I'm told even in 2014, there were concerns and issues in respect of certain payments which the ICC was making to in respect of the image rights to players, or participation fees in ICC events which were given to the board, and a percentage in respect of the percentage which should come to the players. So those were taken up, and those were negotiated, and those were resolved. And even prior to that, these sort of discussions and issues will arise, and I believe, however, it should be the intention of all parties and all stakeholders to make every endeavor to effectively and expeditiously and professionally sit and negotiate and iron out these differences behind closed doors, possibly. Because ultimately, in the interest of cricket, Asanka and Dom, we need right now, cricketers might be, all people might be pointing fingers saying they're not doing well, but they need to have a clear head.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to give them all the support, and we only have, this is our cream. Whatever we say, there are 38 players and they are the cream of our country. And we need to get them to play their best cricket. And ultimately, it's not when they're losing that we, only point fingers at them. Then everybody, and the players also take up the position. They concede that because of them, they will take about 50% of the blame for Sri Lanka's possible going down in the ranks. But there is also certain other factors, diluting the number of cricketing clubs, SLPL not being played regularly. So the players have their own version. So, but either way, administrators and the players all are one team, and that is how I think we should all look at this issue. Like both of you all being part of ESFM and being, an integral part of it. So when we look at both of you, when I look at both of you, I remember ESFM. So that is how I think we should, consider our players. We should not isolate them and sideline them. And even me being here is not required. There's no requirement of me.
Yeah, I understand.
Absolutely.
But I think the players and Sri Lanka cricket lovers, the cricket loving community of Sri Lanka appreciate that these things are spoken of. And
This is true.
we hope that you guys could come into an amicable solution and an agreement so that the cricketers can finally play good cricket, because now it looks like this is the only thing that's preventing our cricketers from playing good cricket.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they are really not sure about their future.
They need peace of mind, I think, like Nishan said. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, they were under a lot of pressure. They were possibly the last 2-3 days before leaving to the UK, because the cynosure was on this probably, and the state of cricket to be played in England, and those were little sidelined, and I don't know whether that was in the interest of cricket. But firsthand, the players were under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And that has been communicated to me. So we need to settle this, and I believe we can. And the administrators did, they took the first step, possibly at this juncture even. They gave a written undertaking to all the players that they will be disclosing each and every player's player evaluation, subject to a request when the player is back. So if these categorized or the allotment of points are satisfactory to the players, I don't think that this issue should go any forward. And this week it's about then the lawyers getting together and ironing out the minor contractual differences or the clauses.
Yeah.
Excellent. Nishan, I think we've had a very interesting conversation. Dom, you have any more?
No, that's it. There's another question, but I think Nishan already answered that. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us taking time out of your day.
It was always a pleasure. It is definitely lovely to be here and lovely to see both of you all. Okay, we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Nishan.
We'll take care.
All the very best.
God bless.
Cheers.
All the very best. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, interesting conversation with attorney at law Nishan Sydney Premathiratne, players representative for the matter of this whole the contractual matter. It's not a legal issue.
Not a legal issue. It's not a dispute.
A lot of things that we learned today.
A discussion. Very good. I hope you guys understood and got a little bit of insight.
We had a song called Salaries, no? No. That was called Calories.
That was Calories.
Yeah. I wanted to play a song called
that. Ended that one. Hey, news is here. We'll be back on the other side. Good morning, folks.
Yes, 101.